Hi guys, this is gsn.com and I'm here with the UHANS S1 for a full review. The first impression, this feels like a bigger iPhone 4 and it's an affordable glass and metal handset with 3GB of RAM inside. The company UHANS was founded in 2013 in China, and U comes from you the buyer, and hands comes from hands, which means the input through your hands via touch. The phone is priced at $140 on gearbest.com, Geek Buying and Ever Buying, so you can find it on those retailers. And UHANS calls this a beautiful beast. It comes bundled with a case, screen protection and wipes, and now it's time to analyze the design. So the phone is available in black or white. It's a 5-incher with a 2.5D glass panel at the front. It's a huge fingerprint and grease magnet, as you can well see here, and it feels like a bigger iPhone 4. It has a pretty sturdy metal frame. In spite of the glass build, it's not slippery, it's solidly built, and of course, since it's a 5-incher, it's very easy to use, navigate and maneuver with a single hand. The glass panel at the front and at the back is curved, and this is a pretty phone, make no mistake. It's quite slim at 7.3mm and it weighs a pretty hefty 153 grams. By comparison, the iPhone 4S, just for an example, was about 2mm thicker, so there's that. Also, the Samsung Galaxy A5 2016 has very similar measurements. It's exactly the same thickness as this model, and it's also 2 grams heavier, but it also has a bigger diagonal. Okay, we also get good button feedback, and there's a slight gap here in the seam area between the frame and the screen as the probably only flaw of the design. Nice looking phone, premium build, and everything is good except for the gap. Now, as far as the screen goes, as I said before, 5-incher with an HD resolution, 2.5D glass and IPS LCD panel. The video player is this one here, and this is our usual test clip. You get here a pop-up play option, and the actual screen experience involves a bright screen, clear image. The contrast is not that good in the sunlight, the colors are pretty well calibrated, and view angles are wide. Okay, we also did a bunch of tests, and let's see how those came out. So tests have been mentioned, so let's see what we're dealing with here. This is the pixel setup under the microscope. These are RGB stripes pixels, and this is the lux meter test result. Pretty good, 460 lux units. It's actually great. It's identical to the one of the Lenovo Vibe X3. It beats the LG G4, the Huawei Mate 8 and OnePlus One, for example. In the settings department, we obviously have special settings for the display. There's adaptive brightness, wallpaper, sleep, font size, and of course mirror vision with its sub settings. Picture mode can be standard, vivid or user mode, and user mode has sub options like contrast, saturation, brightness, sharpness, color temperature and dynamic contrast, but I recommend you stick with standard unless you really want to tweak the experience. So overall, this is a good screen, and now we move on to the other hardware. So this phone relies on an octa-core MediaTek MT6753 CPU, 64-bit unit clocked at 1.3 GHz. We also have the Mali T720 GPU and 3GB of RAM as well as 32GB of storage, and the device does not suffer from lag, it has no functioning problems and comes with a pretty fluid UI. Games like Riptide GP2 and CSR Racing 2 ran without problems. And let's check out Riptide GP2, our usual benchmark game. It's been years since we've been waiting for a Riptide GP3, hasn't happened. We sure wish we could try new benchmark games, so Vector, get on it and make a new Riptide. The water looks cool, all the textures are in place. Okay, so this is interesting. There appears to be a slight calibration problem with the accelerometer or something like that, so at least in this game, that's one aspect to take into account. A better calibration or maybe opting for a touch control may solve it, but as you can see, a bit of a calibration problem, but the graphics look okay. Okay, so we're done with the gaming, time to talk about the performance and other things like that. So we also did some benchmarks here, and let's see what happened in that area. Okay, so benchmarks, first of all, quadrant, here we scored above the Samsung Galaxy S5, not bad. And in Antutu, we got this score, which means we surpassed the Vernitor and the Yumi Touch two of the main rivals of this model. Also, we managed to beat the Huawei G8 and sometimes even the Galaxy A7 2016 in some of the tests. Sadly, GFX bench would not run, and also sadly there were some temperature problems. We achieved a huge 45.1 degrees Celsius here, which is a great overheating after playing the game Riptide GP2 you saw earlier for 15 minutes. So overheating is a problem. We've seen that before on glass and metal phones, but lately not so much. On the battery front, there's a 2200 mAh unit inside, and let's see how it handled our video playback test. Okay, so screenshots and looking for that result. We also did a PC mark test, by the way, and here we go. We achieved 4 hours and 42 minutes here in this test. This is continuous HD video playback in a loop. It's almost the lowest ever of all the phones we tested, but it's still above the LG G Flex 2, so not very impressive considering it's almost the lowest ever. In PC mark, also not very impressive, 4 hours and 11 minutes. This is actually 20 minutes below the Huawei P9, so that should be good. It beats the Huawei Honor 6 and the HTC One first generation, but in the end not exactly very impressive. Charging is done in 1 hour and 53 minutes, which is pretty okay, basically 1 minute more than the Galaxy S7, so that's reasonable. Now on the settings front, we go to the battery, got the battery percent, standby intelligent power saving, battery saver right here can be activated, and then there's also battery optimization to play with. Okay, that's that. Now on the acoustics front, I have to say that we get these 5 holes here for the speaker. We didn't get a bundle set of headphones, and the player doesn't seem to be able to find our music, although if we search for it, we can find it, as you can see here, but if you look into the playlist, it's not there, so strange. Okay, other options, settings, we got the sleep mode and sound effect, which is basically the stock equalizer with 5 custom channels, genre settings, preset, bass boost and surround sound. Now let's actually listen to a tune. Okay, so conclusions, not enough bass, the sound sounds a bit broken at top volume, which means you should probably listen to about 70% or 80% for the ideal experience. It's quite loud, and in the end only the lack of bass and maybe the broken sound at max volume are problems. So if you turn it down a bit, it sounds clearer, nicer, good frequencies and good high notes. The guitar is also handled pretty okay, and now let's see how the phone did in our decibel meter test. So here we go. We achieved a pretty impressive 89.4 decibels. I told you the volume may feel a bit too loud at some points, and this is a very good result. It beats the Galaxy S6, LG G4, LG G5, and once again we have no headphones here, but just in case you are wondering, we do have FM radio. In the settings area you'll find a few settings dedicated to the acoustics. They're here: sound enhancement, BS audio enhance for earphones, BS loudness for the speaker, and audio surround for movies and for music, with a special dedicated mode for each. So overall, good acoustics, maybe aside from the exaggerated top volume. Now on the camera front, we got this 13 megapixel shooter right here at the back with an LED flash and the Sony IMX214 sensor. It's actually the same sensor as the one of the OnePlus One and HTC One A9, so 13 megapixel here with LED flash and face detection autofocus, and 5 megapixel here for the selfies. Now let's see how the camera app handles itself. It fires up reasonably fast, I have to say, and here we go. We got our usual Rubik's Cube here. The zoom is a bit on the slow side, and focus is also kind of slow. The interface felt, let's say, foggy at times, but it may be because of the lens, which needs to be cleaned every once in a while. And picture taking speed is, I would say, reasonable, but not more than that. A very simple user interface. On the right side of the screen you can find the main capture options. On the left side, front camera shortcut, timer and flash. If you swipe up, you get the main capture modes like night, large mode, panorama, watermark, normal and beauty, which you can also tweak, provided you can download more modes from here, from what I understood. Not many of them, but pretty funky. Okay, we also have options. These ones here, you get resolution and quality, you can shoot up to full HD, and of course 13 megapixels and face recognition and other gestures, so there's that. Once again, we're dealing with a very light user interface, and there's also the possibility of interpolation. You can go up to 16 megapixels, although this is a 13 megapixel camera, and at the front up to 8 megapixels, although this is a 5 megapixel camera. So interpolation is a go. In the gallery section, here we go, we've taken a bunch of shots, quite a few of them actually, and we start off with the daytime capture. So let's take them one by one. Okay, so when faced with a strong amount of light in the background and a shadowy area at the front, but basically it has to play with dynamic range, the phone cannot handle it very well. Although I have to say I like the color calibration here, and the close-ups are very good, details-wise, color-wise and clarity-wise, probably the close-ups being the best thing about it. That's the large picture option you saw before. That large mode is this one with some edges around the image. And this is the panorama with a very modest resolution of 5472 over 560 pixels. At least it's crisp and not burnt. When you zoom into the shots, you get some serious detail loss. And I like the view of the water fountain and the way it's captured here in motion, quite nice. Once again, very good close-ups in texture, details and colors. And the selfies were a bit underwhelming because they were burnt but had okay colors, but in the end a bit too burnt even for a sunny day. We insist on close-ups because they're the strong suit of the phone, while in landscape, if you zoom in on this phone, things may appear nice. If you zoom in on the PC, you get a blurry mess instead of flower bushes and trees. But you can console yourself with taking Facebook-worthy close-ups like we did, and once again the colors are decently calibrated, minus in the areas where dynamic range is, let's say, controversial. In the end, I remember that the OnePlus One also had problems with the sun, so if it's indeed the same sensor, that explains it, and I find this to be reasonable for a handset below 150 bucks as far as the photo capture goes. It's slightly below the Vernitor, I feel. Now let's see how the phone handled itself during the night time, because we also took low light shots. Here we go. So these are the low light shots. They're dark, they're a bit foggy. We got huge street light halos, some of them are blurry, and there are some strange colors here, lots of mauve, purple, reddish areas around the edges of the images. I would say this is a neglectable capture. This is not the kind of phone to take low light pictures with, so you can basically forget about that, although every once in a while with the proper lighting you can get a Facebook worthy shot. Now on the video front, we filmed in my less favorite format, 3GPP, Full HD, 30 frames per second and 17 mega per second bitrate. So here we go. Let's see one of the clips we captured with this camera. Things to notice here: we got well calibrated colors, pretty good stabilization actually, and a big quality loss when zooming in. There are some microphone problems, some refocusing and some burn, but not in all of the videos. The ratio is about 2 out of 3 videos are burnt and have some refocusing problems, but this one is actually the better one. Okay, and I feel that the camera cannot exactly face the sun on a torrid day, while on a spring day it would face it better. So that's daytime capture, video capture. Nighttime video capture, well, it looks like this. So foggy and fuzzy, and there's that mauve tint I mentioned before. Especially in the lights area, things are fuzzy. Of course, there's a huge and dramatic amount of quality loss when zooming in. But once again, one thing to remember here is that the digital image stabilization is not bad. It's below an Asus Zenfone Laser, for example, clearly, and from what I've seen, it's below the video capture of an Yumi Touch. So that's the camera in a nutshell, only reasonable in the photo area for the price, while the video is rather neglectable except for the stabilization, which was a surprise. Chrome is the pre-installed browser, and let's load up gsandone.com. Okay, so it's reasonably fast, I would say, not the fastest in the world, and the keyboard is the stock one. It comes with swipe support, and the browser benchmarks were a bit on the low side. Now, as far as connectivity goes, this model offers dual SIM slots with dual standby, micro SIM slots, 4G LTE of the FDD kind. There's Wi-Fi A, B, G, and GPS, Bluetooth 4.0. There's a turbo download combining 4G and Wi-Fi together for faster downloads. And as you can see, the Wi-Fi drops every once in a while. The signal was never full, even when close to the router, so that's a bad thing. While the calls had, let's say, reasonable volume, but not more than that, the signal was okay, but the mic was unimpressive. Once again, the Wi-Fi tends to drop quite a bit. Okay, and we also did a speed test. So let's see how that was handled. Here we go. So we get the 4G speed here, 90 megabits download and 46 in upload, which is good. And the one in Wi-Fi, 48 and 25, reasonable, but recently I had a phone that went past 100 megabits, so I want more. Now, as far as the software goes, this is not your typical Marshmallow phone. It runs Android 6.0 Marshmallow, but with Freemi OS 6.1 on top from UHANS. It's a very colorful UI, almost childish and playful. It doesn't have an app drawer. Multitasking is offered as a carousel, as you can see, and we got a stock notification area and quick settings portion. If you keep the home screen pressed, you'll trigger this area where you can find plugins, which is basically another name for the widgets. Some of them are good looking, some of them are stock. We got themes here, quite a few of them, and good looking. And this area that allows you to implement an exclusive space, which is this one here, dedicated to the sort of timeline that includes your photographs. You can set it up from here, and we go back to those options because we have more. Wallpaper, settings, which are pretty many here. There's something called magic finger, so basically every time you touch an item you'll see hearts, light rings and things like that. Once again, very childish interface, and it's not shy to show you that. Other settings where you can arrange the icons, select the effects, and let's see what else. Home screen settings, we got launcher settings, desktop loop, lock screen settings, gesture settings with double click and all that, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so those are the home screen related options. Now let's see what else we have here. It's time to go to the settings, I guess. So typical settings, I would even say Android 6.0 Marshmallow stock settings, but you can also tweak more. So we got smart settings, you can tweak the navigation bar, you can play with smart light, gesture operation like smart wake, with a variety of symbols to draw and gestures to do on the screen to activate apps and things like that. An interesting aspect, if you want to secure the phone, you will not find the fingerprint scanner option in the settings, you'll find a separate app. This is it, you can back it up with a pin. There is a fingerprint scanner at the back, I don't know if you noticed, it's right here, and we're performing its setup right now. Okay, so fingerprint 1 has already been added, you can use it to perform a capture, stop on alarm, dial a phone number with your fingerprint, home scroll, video control and music control. And this one works like this. Basically you press at the back and you start or you stop the song. In the meantime, let's see how fast we can unlock the device. So not recognized, and from the second attempt it went. This is supposed to be a very good fingerprint scanner that recognizes your print at 360 degrees, so it worked. Let's try a 90 degree, and it also works. In the end it's okay, although I find it a bit strange. There is a separated app and separated from the settings area. Now, as far as the pre-installed applications are concerned, I counted them. There are 38, so almost the definition of bloatware. I would say bloatware-ish, and not one of them feels vital here. We got this theme app, theme club, gallery, file manager. There's this one tap lock. Of course, there's Chrome. We got system like home screen settings and security center for clearing memory and blocking harassment. Quite useful. Basic tools, calculator, calendar, and note. pretty capable note app actually, that has calendar integration, your media apps, and that's pretty much it. Of course, there's also the weather, and in the end 38 apps, close to bloatware. Now it's time for the verdict related to the UHANS S1. On the Pro side, we have premium materials, a good looking phone, a bright screen, there's okay performance, the speaker at the bottom is quite loud, the photo capture is quite okay for the price tag, and stabilization in videos was, I would say, decent. Now on the cons side, as you can see, ever since the Wi-Fi dropped, it didn't start again, although now it's showing that it works. So let's try. So those were the pros. Now on the cons, it's a fingerprint magnet. It has a gap here between the screen panel and the side panel. There's a bit of overheating going on, actually bad overheating. The battery was a bit of a letdown, and there's a bit of distortion in the maximum volume. We got burned videos and pictures in full sunlight, the Wi-Fi drops, there's a bit of bloatware, and I find it suspicious that the fingerprint scanner is not offered within the settings. In the end, it will remain a rival for the Vernitor and Yumi Touch that we tested recently. However, it looks pretty but has flaws. All of them are passable if you can remember yourself of the price of $140. I for one find it pretty serious that the battery and Wi-Fi are not strong suits here, but some people may be ready for a 4-hour battery phone with Wi-Fi that drops, and it will be a good phone for media, for let's say decently stabilized videos, some photos for Facebook, and some casual games, but music and video consumption are its main purposes. Also, it doesn't hurt that it looks like an iPhone 4, which is a compliment. So this is it from gsndon.com. This was the review of the UHANS S1. You can find its prices in the YouTube video description. Bye bye.